$100 a month on autopilot, set up once and then completely forgotten about, quietly beat every single smart money decision I made over the last 4 years. And I've got a very boring bank statement to prove it. Not a trade, not a side hustle, not some app I found at 1 in the morning while doom scrolling. A recurring transfer. That's it. And I want to be honest with you about why that sentence is so annoying to hear, because I hated it when someone said it to me. When you're stressed about money, just be consistent sounds like the least useful advice on earth. It sounds like being told to drink more water. You want the move. You want the thing that changes the number in your account by Friday, because Friday is when the paycheck lands and Wednesday is when it's already gone. So this video isn't going to tell you to be more disciplined. Discipline has nothing to do with this. What I want to show you is a mechanism, a really specific one, for why small, consistent money beats brilliant occasional money by such an embarrassing margin that once you see the math, the whole "which stock should I buy" question kind of loses its grip on you. And I'll show you exactly how to set it up on an income that isn't the same twice in a row. Because most of what gets said about automating money assumes you get the same deposit on the 1st and the 15th forever, and a whole lot of people don't live like that. Quick thing before we get into it. If you're the kind of person who's smart enough to earn decent money but somehow never had anyone hand you the actual system for keeping it, this channel is built for you specifically. Subscribing takes a second, and it means the next one shows up for you instead of getting buried. Okay, so here's where this started for me. I have a friend. I'll call him Danny. He's in Nashville. He does contract work for a couple of construction outfits, and he is genuinely one of the sharper people I know about money. He reads. He knows what a price-to-earnings ratio is. He can talk about interest rate policy in a way that makes me nod and pray-tend. 4 years ago, Danny and I both had almost nothing saved. Same boat. Both running on fumes at the end of every month. Danny went the smart route. He opened a brokerage account. He put in $400, and he started hunting. Every few weeks, he'd send me a screenshot. This one's about to move. This one's undervalued. This sector's about to run. I went the stupid route, mostly because I was too tired to do anything else. I opened a separate savings account at an online bank, set up $100 to move over automatically, and then I forgot my own password for about 1.5 years. 4 years later, Danny is UP, maybe a couple $100 total, on and off, depending on the week you ask him. I'm sitting on money that has genuinely changed how my life feels. Same starting point. Same income bracket. One of us was paying attention the whole time, and it was not me. That's not a story about me being wise. Please understand that. It's a story about the shape of the thing. Here's the mechanism, and this is the part nobody explains properly. There are 2 levers on money. There's how much you put in, and there's how much it grows. And people treat those as if they're the same kind of lever, when they're not even sloths. How much you put in is additive. $100 is $100. It shows up, it stacks, it doesn't argue with you. 12 months of that is $1,200 sitting there, and no one can take it back because you did it wrong. How much it grows is multiplicative. It multiplies whatever's there. And that's the whole game, right there, because multiplication needs something to multiply. Danny had $400. Let's say he nailed it. Let's say he got a 20% return, which for a single pick over a few months is a genuinely great outcome, the kind of thing people brag about in group chats. 20% of $400 is $80. $80. For months of research, checking the app at 11 at night, feeling a little sick on red days. Meanwhile, the boring transfer moved $1,200 into position that same year and asked me to do absolutely nothing. It didn't even wake me up. Being right made him $80. Being consistent made me $1,200. That's the part that reorders your brain a little. When your balance is small, and everybody's balance is small at the start, mine was, yours might be right now. Your contribution rate is doing basically all the work. The rate of return is almost decorative. It doesn't matter yet. It becomes the main character much later, and only if you spent years feeding it. So chasing returns on a small balance is like obsessing over the fuel efficiency of a car you haven't bought. Now, let me put actual numbers on the boring version, because I don't want to hand you vibes. $100 a month for 3 years is $3,600 out of your pocket. In one of the online savings accounts paying somewhere around 4% right now. Think Ally, Marcus, Capital One 360, SoFi, that whole category. You'd land right around 30 EI at 100. So the interest is about $215. $215 over 3 years is not going to change your life. I'm not going to pretend it will. But look at what actually happened. You didn't get a raise. You didn't get lucky. You didn't get good at anything. And you're holding $3,800 you did not have. And 215 of those dollars showed up because the money was sitting in the right kind of account instead of the wrong kind. Which, by the way, the national average savings rate is sitting around 0.38%, not FOIR. 0.38. On $5,000, that's the difference between earning about $19 a year and earning about TWO100. Same money, same risk, same access. One phone-in-hand afternoon of moving it. Nobody's making a viral video about that because there's no drama in it. But it's real, and it's available today, and it doesn't require you to be right about anything. All right, let's put this in your actual week, because I don't want this to stay theoretical. Open your banking app. Right now if you want, pause me. Find the section called Scheduled Transfers, or Recurring Transfers, or Automatic Transfers. Every bank buries it somewhere slightly different. Chase has it under Transfers. Bank of America calls it Scheduled. Look at what's in there. For most people, that list has stuff going out. Rents on autopay, the car payment, the phone bill. $14.99 for a streaming thing you're pretty sure you canceled in March. Maybe a subscribe and save order of paper towels you don't remember choosing. Every single one of those is a company that figured out something important about you before you figured it out about yourself. They figured out that you will absolutely PI them if the payment doesn't require you to decide anything. They're not doing this because they trust you. They're doing it because they don't. They know that a bill that requires a monthly decision is a bill that eventually doesn't get paid, so they took the decision away, and their revenue got stable and predictable overnight. Here's the part that got me the first time I really SAT with it. Every business in your financial life has automated its way into your paycheck. And you, the person actually earning it, are the only one still trying to save with Will Power on a Wednesday. That's not a character flaw. That's a design gap. You got sold the idea that saving is a decision, and everyone extracting money from you knows that decisions are the weakest possible foundation. And think about when the decision lands. Payday hits Friday. By Sunday, you've covered groceries. You've Venmo'd somebody for the thing you split, dinner happened, and there's a version of you at 11 at night with the DoorDash app open because you white-knuckled through a long week and you're done making choices for the day. That version of you is not going to log in and manually move money into savings. That version of you has made 300 small decisions since 7 in the morning and has nothing left. The problem was never you at your best. The problem is that saving by decision only ace-gas you at your worst. Automation just moves the decision to a moment where you actually have capacity and then never asks again. You make it once, on a Tuesday afternoon when you're clear-headed, and the Friday version of you doesn't have to be a hero. If this is landing, do me a small favor and hit like. It genuinely just helps. This reach somebody else who's been white-knuckling the same thing. And if a specific person came to mind while I was describing that Friday night, send it to them. You don't have to say anything. They'll know. Now, here's the Westian I got stuck on for a long time, and I think it's the real one. If this works, and it's this simply, why does nobody talk about it? Like, why is there an infinite feed of content about which stock, which crypto, which app, which side hustle, and almost nothing about the single most reliable mechanism available to a regular person? It's not a conspiracy. It's just incentives, and once you see them, you can't unsee them. A brokerage makes money when you move. Order flow, spreads, activity, engagement. A recurring transfer into savings generates nothing for anyone. Zero. There is no marketing department on earth funded by people quietly making the same deposit for 6 years. Financial media makes money on urgency because urgency gets clicks. And keep doing the boring thing you already set up is the single worst headline ever written. So the entire information environment around your money is tilted toward decisians. Not because decisians work better, because decisians are what can be sold. You've been swimming in that your whole adult life. Of course you think the answer is a smarter move. Everything you've ever read about money was funded by somebody who needed you to believe that. And here's the second thing stacked on top, which is more about how our brains work than about money. Progress you can't see doesn't feel like progress. It feels like nodding. Danny got a hit of feedback every single day. Green day, Red day, up, down, something happened. Something to check, something to feel. My $100 transfer produced no feedback whatsoever, no notification worth reading, no visible change. Month 4 looked exactly like month 3. So your brain, which is running an entirely reasonable calculation, concludes this isn't doing anything. And you cancel it, or you drop it to $25, or you skip a couple months, and then it's dead. The boring move doesn't fail because it stops working. It fails because you can't feel it working. That's the ACTUL enemy. Not laziness, not lack of discipline, not being bad with money. The enemy is a missing feedback loop, and we're going to build you a fake one, because that turns out to be all you need. Third thing, quickly, and then I'll get to how to actually do this. There's a real financial reason consistency wins that isn't just psychological. When you buy the same amount every month, into an index fund, say, you're buying at whatever the price happens to be that day. Some months that's high, some months that's a discount. You don't have to know which is which, and that's the point. You've removed timing from the equation entirely, not beaten it, removed it. And timing is the thing that eats people alive. Not because they're dumb, but because the market makes smart people feel stupid on a regular schedule. To be clear, investing carries real risk. Money in the market can go down and stay down for a long stretch, and none of this is advice for your specific situation. This is education. But the structural point holds. Consistency is the one variable that's fully under your control, and it's the only one. So let's build it. Actual steps, and I'm going to include the version for income that's different every month, because that's a huge chunk of people and it always gets skipped. First, separate bank. Not a separate account at the same bank, a different institution entirely. This sounds like a small detail, and it's the WHL thing. If your savings sits next to your checking in the same app, it's not savings. It's a slightly more polite checking account. You will transfer out of it on a Tuesday for a reason that seems completely fine at the time. I've done it. I did it 3 times before I figured out what was happening. Put it somewhere that takes 2 days to reach you. One of the online banks, the 4%-ish ones. Friction is not the enemy here. Friction is the feeder. Second, timing. The transfer fires the day after your paycheck lands, not the day before the next one. This matters more than the amount. Money you save at the end of the month is whatever survived, and nothing survives. Money that leaves the day after payday never entered the pool of spendable cash in your head, and your brain adjusts to the W number in about 2 weeks without complaining. Third, the amount, and this is where most people blow it up. Pick a number that survives a bad month. Not your best month. Not the month where the side work came through and you felt rich for 11 days. A bad month. The one with a car thing and a copay and a wedding you had to fly to. Because the actual failure mode isn't saving too little. It's setting it at $400, feeling dreet for 6 weeks, hitting a rough stretch, overdrafting, and killing the whole system in shame. Then not restarting for 2 years. I would rather you run $50 a month for 5 straight years than $300 for 4 months. It isn't close. One of those buelled something. The other just teaches you that you can't do this, which is a lie you'll be paying for later. Fourth, for irregular income, don't use a fixed dollar amount. Use a percentage of every deposit. If the work is lumpy, some months are $3,000 and some months are $800. A flat number will break you. So instead, the rule is, every time money hits, 10% goes over. Some banks will do that automatically now. If yours won't, you do it manually the same day the deposit clears, and you treat it like the invoice you owe yourself. And on the big months, resist the urge to celebrate by upgrading your life. The big Mon-H is not a raise. It's an average being paid out unevenly. Fifth, and this one's free money that a shocking number of people leave sitting there. If you've got a 401k at work with a match, that's your first Autopilot before anything else. The average employer match runs somewhere around 4.5% of your pay. On a $65,000 salary, that's roughly $2,900 a year that your employer will hand you for participating and will keep entirely if you don't. There is no investment on earth with 100% instant return. That's the closest thing that exists, and it's sitting in an open enrollment portal you clicked through in 9 seconds. And one honest exception to all of it, if you're carrying credit card debt at around 20%, and plenty of cards are north of 24 right now, the boring move for you is the same mechanism pointed at the balance instead of the savings account. Automatic, day after payday, above the minimum. Paying down 20% interest is a guaranteed 20% return, which is better than anything you'd find hunting. Same machine, different target. Okay, now the part I actually think matters most, and it took me way too long to understand. I used to think the boring move was the price you pay for being too scared to do the interesting one, like it was the consolation prize. The thing you do because you're not sophisticated enough for the real strategies. That's completely backwards. The boring move is what sophistication actually looks like when nobody's watching. Because here's what's really happening when you set that transfer up. You're not making a bet on the market. You're not making a bet on yourself, either. And that's the good part. You are removing yourself from the equation. Every version of you that shows up over the next 3 years, the tired one, the broke one, the one who got some bad news, the one who's feeling cocky after a good month, the one who saw a stock tip in a group chat, none of them get a vote. You took the vote away from all of them on purpose on one Tuesday afternoon while you were thinking Clary. That's not lack of ambition. That's you bewielding something that doesn't depend on your mood. And then there's the boredom, which we have to deal with directly, because the boredom is the AC2L obstacle, and everyone pretends it isn't. 6 months in, you're going to look at that balance and feel nothing, maybe worse than nothing. You'll do the math and think, at this rate, it'll take me forever, and forever feels like a reason to quit. So build the fake feedback loop. Here's the whole thing. Once a month, same day, you open the account and you write the balance down. Notes app, back of a receipt, doesn't matter. Unnumber, 12 seconds, because a balance you look at once a month looks flat. A list of 12 balances looks like a trend line, and your brain responds to trend lines the way it responds to progress. You're not measuring the money. You're manufacturing the visible progress the system refuses to give you. I started doing that in year 2, and it's the single reason I didn't quit. Not the returns. A list of numbers in my phone. And then, at some point, something happens that reframes the WHO thing. Mine was a transmission. $1,200, a Thursday, no warning, in a shop off the highway where the guy is telling me the number and watching my face to see what it's going to do. And nothing happened to my face. I paid it. I was irritated for about an hour, and then it was over. 2 years earlier, that same $1,200 would have been a credit card, then a minimum payment, then 18 months of interest, then a slightly worse credit score, then a higher rate on something else later. One transmission would have cost me TWO years. That's the thing the boring money actually bought, not a bigger number. It bought the ability to have a bad Thursday and still have it just be a Thursday. That's what wealth is, at the level where it starts. It's not a portfolio. It's the shrinking of emergence into inconveniences, and nobody can sell you that, which is exactly why nobody's trying to. So let me pull this together, because I want you to be able to actually do something with the next 20 minutes. Open a savings account at an online bank that isn't the bank you spend from, one of the 4%-ish ones. Set up one recurring transfer, dated the day after your money lands, at an amount that survives your worst month, not your best one. If your income moves around, make it a percentage of every deposit instead of a fixed number. If there's a match at work, turn that on today, because it's the only place free money is genuinely sitting. If you've got a card balance around 20%, point the same machine at that first. And once a month, write the balance down so you can see something your bank refuses to show you. That's it. That's the WHO system. It fits on a napkin, and it will outperform 4 years of being clever, which I know because I watched it happen to a guy who's smarter about money than I am. Danny, by the way, set one up last spring. He still trades a little on the side, and honestly, good, he enjoys it. That's a hobby, and hobbies are allowed. But the thing building his actual future now is a transfer he doesn't think about. He told me the weirdest part was how little it felt like anything. That tracks. That's the job. If money stress is the thing that hits you hardest at 11 at night, there's a lot more on this channel about the invisible leaks in a paycheck and how to PLUG them. That's the natural next one to watch after this, and it pairs with everything we just covered. And I want to hear one thing in the comments, specifically this. What's the amount you know you could move every month without feeling it? Not the ambitious number. The one that's genuinely invisible to you. Say the number out loud in the comments. Because writing it down where somebody can see it is weirdly the hardest part, and half the people reading are about to realize their number is bigger than they thought. Everything here is education, not advice for your situation, and anything involving the market carries real risk of loss. Do your own homework before you move real money. A last thing, you don't need a better idea about money. You've probably got plenty of those already, sitting in your notes app, waiting for a version of you with more energy. You need one decision you only have to make once. Go make it tonight, and then let it get boring.